Hi, welcome back to the Medical Writing Insider series where we talk with professionals working in medical communications and medical marketing, and we help new medical writers navigate this field better. Today we have Dr. Snehal with us. Dr. Snehal is a PhD in microbiology and she has then transitioned into medical affairs, medical communications, and strategy. A warm welcome, Dr. Snehal.
Thank you, Shatabdi. Thank you for that kind introduction. And it's always a pleasure talking to you and connecting with you. Yes, I look forward to sharing my experience with your audience here and hope they find it useful in different aspects of their journey too. So, here is to looking forward to a fruitful conversation.
Absolutely, Snehal. So, Snehal, would you love to introduce yourself for all of us?
Yes. So, Shatabdi, I started working as a research fellow in CSR CCMB Hyderabad. There, I worked in infection biology, and that experience kind of laid a foundation for me to pursue PhD later. So, I had a CSR fellowship for someone who does not know what a CSR is. So, it's Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. So, there is a pan India exam conducted for this, and there are two levels to it. There is a net and junior research fellowship. So I had to qualify that to do PhD in India. So I had to clear that exam, and after that you get the CSR fellowship. So my PhD was funded by CSIR, and I went ahead to do my PhD in applied biology in Agharkar Research Institute, and my mentors there were Dr. Kishore Paknikar and Dr. Jitika Rajwade, under whom I studied a lot of different aspects at the interface of nanotechnology, microbiology, and biotechnology. And it was during this experience that I had a diverse set of phases during my PhD. I started working as a researcher, then I went ahead translating my work into a product. I also pitched my product for competition by name National Bioentrepreneurship Competition. So in that competition, you need to pitch your project and you need to write, your project ideas to them. So that particular phase also introduced me to a whole different arena of writing. So we do write publications, we do write different articles during our PhD. There are different presentations that you do to translate your work and let the different audience, be it scientists, be it researchers, be it your juniors, or be it an extended research community. So you're definitely a part of that arena, but the activities like this opened up me to a different domain and to a different world of writing. So after that particular experience, I just decided to venture out in this field and to see, how the world of communication would work out for me. And after my PhD, I worked as an associate scientific advisor and then as a medical manager at a consultancy. And that consultancy, further strengthened um, my grit to pursue my career further in the field of medical communication. So it was in that consultancy, I had traveled across different parts of the country where I was part of different projects which had involved medcoms and medical writing and medical affairs. These all are, different domains, but are used interchangeably. I won't go into the details of it. So after that experience, I decided to take a specialist approach and try to make my niche into writing. And now currently I work as a medical writer. And across this journey, I have worked. I started my journey from infection biology. I got into applied sciences. Then I got into different therapy areas, spanning from diabetes to oncology. And currently now I'm working across different therapy areas, wearing multiple hats. And working as a medical writer. Now medical writer, the title itself, I find it bit misleading. It's more than writing. It's synthesizing complex information, managing projects, a lot of things that you do. So that's something about myself and my journey so far in this field. I
Absolutely.
hope that answers the question. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. So you beautifully summed up the whole journey. Like I could kind of visualize the whole journey. You said it so beautifully. Okay. So Snehal, can you tell us, like you started off with an advisor and managerial kind of role, and then you have moved on to a medical writer role. So what is the main difference between the work scope in these two kind of roles? Because you have the experience of both of them.
Yeah, so Shatabdi, before I get into the roles, I would just like to switch the gears a bit. And I would like to let you know that a lot of agencies right now in India, um, although they have different titles. Now, I started off my journey as an associate scientific advisor. They have different titles, but a lot of time responsibilities are overlapping. They're at times blurred. And to give a rough idea of how it was, when I was working as an associate scientific advisor, I was looking at the project from two major point of views. One, on how to um, use that project or how to communicate that project so that it translates uh, a complex idea uh, into a message that is meant for a particular audience. Now, for example, if I'm working on a project which involved um, slide deck for yeah, medical education, the internal medical team of a pharma company. Now my audience here is the internal medical affairs team, the sales team, and different teams in the medical affairs domain. And my deliverable here was a slide deck. So I was writing it, I was creatively curating it. I was also making sure that the different stakeholders involved, I coordinate with them, I go back and forth. And if that particular project requires us a presentation, we do that as well. If that particular deck has to become a publication later on, we also used to take care of that. So there were a lot of different aspects to it. So when it comes to defining a role, I would say that in my journey, I never had a clear demarcation. I had to wear multiple hats. And I'm thankful to that particular experience. So, as an advisor, I just gave an instance that this is how I juggle my roles. Now, when it comes to medical manager, uh, you get more power, you get a bit more of authority to manage your team and to lead it as per your conviction. So you're doing two things. You're also managing you're working on your scientific acumen, using it your best to work on a deliverable. At the same time, you're also working with different stakeholders. It could be the external stakeholders, it could be the internal stakeholders, and then everything that comes between this journey, from curating a material, curating a deliverable to managing them, was something that I did as a medical manager. I still do that as a writer as well, but I did it extensively in my medical manager position. So just to sum up, sometimes the scope of the work does reflect in a job description, and you get into that particular job thinking that you will be just confined to it. But no, it doesn't happen that way. You often land in a place where you get to do different things. So yes, the particular set of roles gives you direction on what is expected of you, but don't be under an assumption that that would be the only thing that you'll be doing. So that's the environment I have been into two different consultancies so far. And that's how it is for someone who wants to get into medcoms and who wants to get into an agency life. uh, Things are more or less like this. So yeah, so the scope of work, I really cannot pinpoint that this is,
Absolutely.
these were the pointers, ABC.
Yes, I
I
get
did
it.
this
Yeah.
as an associate scientific advisor, and ABC as a medical manager. So
Absolutely.
they often
Yes.
overlap, and yeah, the lines often get blurred
Yes.
between the scope of works. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Snehal, like you said that the managerial positions or the advisor kind of positions, you had to kind of starting from the curation to the delivery. More, it was kind of monitoring, supervising, as well as being involved directly in the process. But I think when it comes to scientific writing, medical writing, that kind of participation becomes a bit less. You are more involved in directly creating the deliverable, right? So Snehal, tell me whether you think that having a PhD, because there are a lot of PhDs who want to, negotiate, like move into this field. So, do you think that having a PhD degree gives a person an edge to move into medical communications?
Um, Shatabdi, in my experience, it does. In my experience so far, it did give me an edge. So having a PhD, it's like the pinnacle of the, the higher most degree. And
Absolutely.
sometimes, we let's be very candid in here. Sometimes some PhD programs really don't craft you into a critical thinker. But if you do it from a particular institute, and if you are trained and grinded and molded into a critical thinker, then the PhD, uh, having that degree, I would say, having that training, having that experience does give you an edge. And I think there are three things in here that I always felt. The first thing is patience, that you learn in a PhD. Things don't work out the way you want. And I could draw that analogy even now. Sometimes things don't work. Sometimes we work on a deliverable and it doesn't land the way it should. So you definitely have that patience. Second, because you want that experiment to work out, you also develop grit. Now these are something, you develop that grit to make it work. So patience, grit, and third, alone patience and grit cannot drive the project. You need to be a critical thinker. You have to check your work, assess your work, evaluate, and educate yourself as well to how can I turn this failed experiment into a successful experiment. Now, in these three things, you really mold and shape into a different person. And that helps any organization to leverage it further. So whatever you have learned, your basics during your PhD, during your training, just organically you apply it to your work as well, and that there it does reflect. But having said that, it doesn't mean that only PhDs can be better at doing so. I've seen a lot of different professionals who haven't got PhD but have worked in this particular domain for like 2 years, 3 years, and are doing extremely well. So it is really subjective. And you really cannot say that. But well, this is my version of truth. And I in my journey, I did feel that the PhD gave me an edge because I directly transitioned from PhD into medcom. So I did not have any experience in between, except for my publications, except for my experience pitching, writing a grant, or a couple of other voluntary activities that I did during my PhD on and off. So that's my experience, that it did give me an edge, but not necessary that you have to have a PhD. So it really depends how quickly you learn. So patience, grit, and critical thinking also comes when you do a job, and when uh, when you do different types of projects. Even then you do become do acquire a skill set that's required for a job. So yes.
True. Yes, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, you moved directly from like after your PhD, you moved directly into medical communications. So, Snehal, what was your biggest challenge? Was there any challenge when you moved into this particular role or into this field rather?
A lot of challenges, Shatabdi. A lot of challenges, because I was completely an academic person. And academia is a different universe, and corporate is a different universe. Now, I'm sure there would be people who would disagree with me, but I did feel so. Even the language, for me, it took me a minute or so to understand deliverables, stakeholders, project milestone timelines, because this is not the language that we speak in academics. So something as trivial as a corporate jargon or a corporate vocabulary, it really started off from there for me. I knew that essentially these are the same things, but it takes some time for you to adapt around this. Uh, like I said, the biggest challenge, I'm not able to pinpoint biggest challenge, but there are a lot of different barriers. So the very first thing was, to get into the corporate environment, and to understand that um, you're not naive. Academics does train you, but you have to have the clarity on how to leverage those skill set in the corporate world. So if you lack that clarity, then you might get overwhelmed. So that was one of the prominent challenges that I kept facing, and even now, you get overwhelmed because there are timelines, you have accountability, there are numbers that you need to achieve. In academics, the metrics were slightly different, but in corporate, you have to be on your toes all the time. So
Yes.
there are phases where you feel overwhelmed. There are phases, when imposter syndrome kicks in. There are phases where you think that deep down that you can do it, but there are people who do not believe that you can pull it off because you do not have corporate experience. So these are some of the stigmas around it. Um, uh, you know, um, can lead can mount into different challenges that you face.
Yes.
So I think a lot of things are coming to my mind, but these are these
Yes,
are some of
absolutely.
the factors that I thought I should really lay down for the audience
Yes, yes.
there.
So I think you pointed
Yeah.
out one very important thing, which is the environment. So the environment that we come from, which is be we doctors, be we pharmacists. So we have an academic background, be we PhDs, right? Scientists, researchers. But then we move in directly into the corporate world without any prior training of how to run in a corporate world, right? So that is the biggest challenge that most of us faces. Yes, absolutely. So Snehal, tell us a little bit about how you landed your first uh, opportunity in this industry. Was it through LinkedIn? Did you reach out? How it happened?
So Shatabdi, before I got into Medcoms, I was leading my institute scientific magazine as well. So we used to write articles in there. We were already translating complex scientific concepts for the audience who does not understand science or who does not speak the language of statistics or probability. So we were already doing that, and that helped me get some, after my PhD, that helped me get some freelance work too. So I worked as a freelancer as well, and all of those leads I got from LinkedIn. So
Okay.
that fairly gave me an idea that how the system work, and
Works.
I became familiar there.
Yes.
So I added that in my resume, and when I started applying to different jobs, I made sure that I'm vocal about it, and I make sure that I let the recruiter know that being that they shouldn't feel a disconnect that we are hiring a PhD but does not have a writing experience. So I always made sure that there should not be any discordance. I'm a PhD, and writing is something that we do on regular
Absolutely.
basis, and And with writing, there are different skill sets that come along, and we are trained in it. Plus, my freelance work, I just built up a small portfolio, and I made sure that I'm vocal about it. I made sure that it reflects in my CV. And
Yes.
I think both these things did give me, I was able to put the foot in the
Into
door.
the door.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think, Snehal, you have mentioned another very important point over here, which is reflecting your skill sets, existing skill sets in your resume, which many of us, uh, underestimate or ignore completely. So we think that we do not have anything to show in our resume, and we end up creating a resume which is a completely disconnect from what we already have, what we already bring to the table. So I think one of the biggest lessons that even I have learned from my journey is focusing on our strengths. We have a lot of skill sets which we already carry in from our academics, but we don't actually realize, and we don't highlight them in our resume. So I think that is one big thing that we should start doing more often, right? Yes. So
Yes.
with that, Snehal, yeah, I have another very interesting question in mind. So a new writer who wants to start in 2026, right? Whatever background they come from, what would be your top three tips for that person?
Um, okay, so a lot of things boiling down to top three is going to be a challenge for me. But well, the very first thing, assess your expertise. When I started out, I was writing for a client who was working in COVID or on COVID infections. And being because I worked in infection biology, my PhD also involved studying on viruses. So I knew that this is my expertise, and I was only looking out for the work that has infection biology and has aspects around it. So know your expertise, because that's going to help you, that's going to make your job a little easier when it comes to writing, because writing in itself is such a complex process that you need to think, you have to have a narrative, plus then you make sure that the narrative is cohesive enough so that it tells a story, and then it's some and then you wrap up that particular writing piece with a with a conclusion too. So knowing your expertise will make it a bit easier for you to start out your writing journey. So that's number one: know your expertise and leverage that. Second is, imagine you are an audience yourself. Imagine that you're judging your own work. So it's very important that you, as a new writer, that you work on a piece, then you come out of that role and then judge your piece. That really gives you a different perspective. So as a new writer, I would highly recommend this, to criticize your own work as much as possible. I know one can feel that, oh come on, we are just starting out, we are naive enough to do that. But no, if you have come so far, and if you're already considering yourself as a writer, then you love that process of translating and of communicating. So you do have that acumen of judging your work. So keep doing that. So that's number two. And number three is comprehension. Understanding of a particular subject really requires dissecting it. Like, under go to the very foundation, go to the very basic part of that particular subject. Look at the look at the building blocks. Look how a particular area has shaped, and then connect it. So distangle what you're learning, and make sure that you start right from the basics, because as a medical writer, you're not a subject matter expertise yet. So you really are a generalist here, who knows the subject, but not at the level of a subject matter expertise. So for you to start learning something new, maybe you don't have to go to the expertise level. You can just start with the basics of it and go to a level where your piece is good enough for the audience that it's meant to be. So you just have to major that. So these are some of the points, like know your expertise,
Yes.
judge your work, and learn the basics of the project or of the piece that you're working upon. So these are some of the three things. Internet is full of resources, what medical writers should be doing, what they should be reading. There are AMWA, American Medical Writers
Yes.
Association website. Then there is an equivalent European Medical Association website too. Then there are lot of medical writers community, so they're already giving good
Resources.
nuggets of wisdom there
Mm, mm,
on
mm,
resources. But
mm.
this is something I wish someone would have told me when I started on my like when I started my own journey. So I won't go into the details, but if anyone is really interested, they can ping me over LinkedIn message, and I can share the resources or a toolkit that I used to refer and that I still go back and read. But these are the three things, like know your expertise area when you're beginning, know your expertise areas, leverage that. Second is judge your work, and third is like really know the basics, right from the basics to what's the landscape right now for that particular subject area. You don't
Yes.
have to become a subject matter expertise, but you have
Yeah.
to know it well so that your audience has good tangible takeaways from that particular project. So these are the
Yes.
three tips, Shatabdi.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think whatever you have mentioned does not develop in one day. We need to keep polishing ourselves. We need to keep doing the work. Even 6 years into this field, I am sure you will also relate to this. Learn every single day, right? So there is no end to it. Free resources, YouTube videos, workshops, programs, upskilling, webinars, whatever. But just if you think that you are stuck somewhere and we need to move ahead, then I always suggest that take that course, take that workshop, take that resource, study that, and then move ahead, right? Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So, Snehal, tell me, for somebody who does not have not worked yet on a particular project or have not started their career yet, but they want to build a portfolio. So, how can they do it? Like, what kind of pieces would you suggest they add to it?
Okay, so it really depends on what kind of role that you're getting in. If you've defined your role, you can have your portfolio according to it. Sometimes you look at your portfolio and then you look for roles. So it there are two perspectives in here. Either if you have a role in your mind, for me it
Mm.
was medcoms. So I focused on highlighting those articles which was a part of medcoms domain. So I focused on that. Uh, Consider that hypothetically, if I wanted to get into exclusively into regulatory writing, then if there are any such projects that I have done around
Mm.
regulatory, I would have highlighted that because I
Absolutely.
wanted to get into medcoms and medical publication writing. I
Mm-hmm.
focused on those articles on those projects that I have worked upon. So, and
Yes.
eventually, because I wanted to get into those roles, I was looking for a similar work like this. So there was,
Yes.
my portfolio really aligned with the roles that I wanted to get in. So for
Yes.
someone who want to get started, uh, I think have a bigger picture first, like what kind of
Mm.
role you want to get in.
Mm.
You have to start it somewhere. You just
Mm.
cannot be starting with everything all at once. So have a role defined. Look at the bigger picture. Assess what are your strengths. Assess how well you can fit in that particular role, and see if it really works for you. Then just work on such projects that will help you to land in that particular
Yes.
role. So
Yes. So I
I
think we
I
are
I
talking. Yeah. Yeah,
hmm.
Snehal. So I think we
Yeah.
are
So
talking
that
about, yeah, I think we are talking about customizing our portfolio according to the roles that we want to get into, right? Kind of reverse engineering, first understanding the roles and then developing the portfolio so that it is aligned with it. That is a better way of, moving ahead, right? Rather than just building a random portfolio. Yes, true.
Yes, you have beautifully summed up, Shatabdi. So that's what, one should be doing. But, I'm someone who also believes that this is not the only way, but this is something that has
Yes,
worked for me and has worked for a lot of
yes.
different colleagues of mine. So,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I also follow a similar process. So I know that this can really be an easy, simple, yet very relevant way of building a portfolio rather than just throwing everything into the, crowd. Yes. So
Yes.
Snehal, tell me, what's in the horizon going ahead for you? How do you look ahead to move in your journey as a medical writer right
Okay, so Shatabdi, when I started working as a research fellow, it was the love for science that really uh, glued me to this journey, that really helped me develop grit to do my PhD, and then I ventured into medical affairs. So just for the passion of for science, I am looking forward to uh, evolve myself into roles where I can use my skill set to its best. So I really don't want to confine myself to any particular role right now, but this is what I am here, and I am constantly upskilling myself. Artificial intelligence is around, and that's something that I really want the audience to know that as a medical writer or as someone as a medical communication specialist, as a PhD, as a doctor, as someone who wants to get into this domain, should constantly upskill themselves, not only in artificial intelligence, but also, behavioral psychology, also in how to communicate a story, on how to narrate a particular scientific idea. So for me on horizon is I want to upskill myself. I want to make sure that I'm equipped with all the skills that are required in the industry right now, and if I have to carve my niche, I have to be sure that I have a complete panoptic view of what things are going on. So my journey is really right now at not very defined, but yes, like I said, I'm working on it, and I have plans on how to equip myself. So that's on
now?
the horizon right now.
Perfect, Snehal. Thank you so much for being such a sweet and amazing guest. And for all of you, you can connect with Dr. Snehal on LinkedIn and you can follow her journey to know more about medical communications and scientific communication. And I'll meet you in the next episode with another interesting topic on medical writing. Till then, take care, bye, guys. And Snehal, anything you want to share with our audience? One last time.
Yeah, the one last thing is I would like to urge the audience to follow your channel, to follow your different channels where you're working. This is not sponsored, by the way. Shatabdi did not even say this to me, but the reason I'm saying so is because if you have this like-minded community, you really can ace in this particular field. So Shatabdi is
Absolutely.
definitely one such person who uh, uh, constantly makes sure that she does good work and it's visible there. So these are the two things: execution and visibility. Shatabdi, you're really doing great at it, and that's how your post landed in my feed and we connected. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate that, your LinkedIn presence and the efforts that you're taking for this particular community. So this
Thank you
this
so
really
much,
deserves
Sneha.
that appreciation. And yes, that's the last thing, and thank you again for having me. And like you said, if anyone wants to connect with me, I'm
Yes,
always there on LinkedIn. There would be some delays, but yes, I'll definitely respond to your messages. Yeah, thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Snehal. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye,
Wishing you the
guys.
best. Bye bye.
Thank you.